Good morning, Maccabee Nation. Welcome to our fifth interview. Moshe is joining us today from an organization called Yashar LaChayal. They're a nonprofit, and in English, that means straight to the soldier. I believe my Hebrew is a little rusty at this point. I met Leon, one of the organization's directors, when I was a lone soldier at a base in the north called Metula. I think that they were building a shed for soldiers to stay warm there. A lot of people don't know it can actually snow up in the north in Israel. And Leon was kind enough to introduce me to Moshe, who's joining us today to talk more about his work with the organization. And thank you so much for joining us today, Moshe.
Thanks, Jason, for having me. It's a crazy time here in Israel, and it's really a pleasure to be able to speak to you guys and shed some light on what's going on here.
Awesome. So can you start by just telling us a little bit more about yourself? How did you find Yashar LaChayal, and what type of work do you do for them?
So I'll start from the beginning. I was born in the States. I moved to Israel. I was born in New Jersey. I moved to Israel over about 12 years ago now. And I served in the IDF as well as a lone soldier. And I served from 2013, 2015 as a paratrooper. And I also fought in the war in Gaza in Operation Protective Edge in 2014, and was lightly injured in my service there. And I continue now over the last 10 years serving in reserve duty. And just most recently, after October 7th, I've been in reserve for over 150 days. From October 7th till January, I was served in Gaza. And then after that, I served, just now, I finished 2 days ago, serving up north on the Lebanese border in Metula. And throughout my service over these last 10 years, and also when I first got here, I fell in love with the dedication of the IDF and these soldiers, how much they sacrifice, leaving their families. And even from young age at 18, I have some people who serve with me that are even older with grandchildren in their 60s, that people leave everything to sacrifice for the country and for the Jewish nation around the world. And I think that's what kind of drove me to get involved with Yashar LaChayal and with Leon to do whatever we can to help support the soldiers of the IDF. And so a little bit about Yashar LaChayal. Yashar LaChayal was established now almost 18 years ago during the Second Lebanon War, when in 2006, when the war broke out, Leon, our executive director, went up to the northern border and started meeting with the soldiers, trying to understand what they need. And slowly but surely, he built unbelievable connections with the army and provided everything, whether it was warm clothing or food or socks or underwear, whatever they needed for the war, he provided for them. And since then, we've now done amazing work. We do a lot of different things for soldiers in need. One of our biggest projects right now, I think you mentioned earlier, are these warm corners where we have 38 of them around the country, where these are little buildings with refrigerators and kitchenettes and couches and air conditioning, and soldiers that are on patrol out in all the way up north, down south, in the middle of Judea and Samaria. Normally when there's rain or it's boiling hot outside, there's nowhere to stop. So we provide them with these rest areas where there's coffee and tea and cookies, everything you need, and they're located all over Israel. And the goal of these warm corners are to provide a place for these soldiers to rest, also to provide those communities that have these warm corners a sense of safety and feeling of seeing the soldiers help them feel safe, and also gives a chance for these members of the community, these civilians, to give back to the soldiers. So it's an amazing project. We're working on that a lot. And we also have a lot of other projects helping soldiers wherever they need. We try to provide it when they need it.
Amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how much you're doing, and you're still, volunteering to help others. And that's really admirable. And I just want to read some stats that, since October 7th, I was reading one of your newsletters that, Yashar LaChayal has helped distribute, 25,000 medical essentials, 16,000 pairs of boots, 180,000 hygiene products, 8,500 water packs, about 11,000 sleeping bags, and over 300,000 clothing items. And so the work that you're doing is just so important. I don't think people realize how great the needs are.
It's amazing to hear it in numbers. We do it on a daily basis, but to hear it, it's really amazing. We actually, right after October 7th, on October, I think it was October 10th, we had so many requests from the army, so we opened up a huge warehouse in the central part of Israel, and that's what's allowed us to provide for all the soldiers. We've been ordering tons of gear. It goes into the warehouse, and we have every day tons of units coming and picking up and bringing it to as deep into Gaza as you can think of, and also to the Lebanese border.
And how much of some of the shortages of supplies or equipment, how much of that is that the equipment is not in the right place versus it's not there and needs to be kind of sourced?
So I think it's a complicated question. I think there, especially in the States, I'm sure plenty of people have been receiving a lot of requests and for different gear. And I think the basic gear, whether we're talking about vests or helmets or tactical gear, the army provides the most basic, not the most basic, it provides what the soldiers need. Before I went into Gaza, I didn't have the proper gear, but the 2 days before I was called in to go to Gaza, they made sure that every soldier going to Gaza has the proper gear that they need. So I think the IDF provides correctly the tactical gear that is needed, and we deal with that. At Yashar LaChayal, we don't really deal with that so much. What we deal mainly is with the other issues. This war is the longest war that Israel has ever seen. And it's much different than a 2-week operation or 3-week operation. And as a result, many soldiers are serving for over 150 days at a time. They don't have basic hygiene products. They don't have underwear and socks, and they don't have. They're now in Gaza. It's extremely hot, and there's no air conditioning, no fans. So we've been providing fans for them now. So we kind of go behind the scenes to understand what they're really not receiving, these soldiers, and we make sure they get them. I think that's what's really necessary is the basic tactical gear they're getting, but it's very difficult still to continue serving without these other necessities, whether it's changing your socks every day. If you're serving in hot weather for 100 days, you need good pair of clothing, and if you need an extra uniform here and there, we're able to provide those things.
Amazing. And people, especially in the West, they have a very skewed idea of what an Israeli soldier looks like, and they don't realize how diverse Israel is. And so, from someone who has been serving in the IDF for a long time, can you speak a little bit about just how the diversity in the IDF, not just ethnic diversity, but also like socioeconomic, like you mentioned. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about that.
Yeah, so I hope we can touch upon that a little bit. So what a lot of people don't know is that the IDF has a mandatory enlistment into the IDF, which means that all youth that reach the age of 18 have to join the IDF, which is very different than U.S. military, which is a voluntary service. And so that right off the bat creates a society in the army which represents the entire Israeli nation, meaning you have every single type of, there are some certain exceptions, but the majority of the country is serving there. So you'll have Ethiopians, you'll have Christians, you have Arab Christians, Arab Muslims, you have ultra-Orthodox Jews in the army, you have those who wear kippot, you have Druze soldiers, there's all different kinds of soldiers that are in the army. And with that being said, they come from all different backgrounds. At Yashar LaChayal, like I mentioned before, we put our main focus on helping soldiers in need. Soldiers in need are soldiers that come, not just lone soldiers coming from around the world. It's mainly for soldiers that have family here in Israel, but they come from lower socioeconomic families, and many of them up to the age of 18 were already working, helping support their families. And then once they join the army at age 18 or have mandatory service for now 3 years, that's 3 years of that income that they were bringing to their families no longer they're no longer able to support their family. And that's when we step in, when we're able to reach out to those soldiers, and if they're missing, lacking electrical appliances, if they need help for food for the holidays, that's when the army reaches out to us to try to provide for these soldiers. I remember when I was a commander in the paratroopers, I had many soldiers that needed help, and we would provide for them a check, whether it was for the holidays or for the weekends, to make sure that they have the food and the necessary equipment that they need. And that's something that's very special about the IDF, is that it brings in, it enlists all different types of people from all over the country, but we take care of each other, and I think that's something that's very special about the IDF, and that's great for the country.
You know, there's been obviously a lot to be sad or depressed about this past year. Can you tell us something that made you hopeful, or something you know, in the past, you know, 6-7 months that has given you hope?
So there's been a lot of things. I'm a very positive person, but I think one of the most exciting times that I had, when after serving 4 months in Gaza, we found out we're finally returning home, and at least not returning to Gaza for at least a few months. And sadly, in my battalion, we lost 3 soldiers during the battle, and we all knew them very well, and we had very difficult. We lost close friends while we were serving there, but as we got out, we sang the song Am Yisrael Chai, that the Jewish nation will continue to live. And I think that's throughout the streets of Israel, even now, when there's these threats of Iranian attacks and threats from Hezbollah, the ruach, the spirit, I don't think has been affected at all. I mean, we've gone through probably the worst attack since the Holocaust, and the country's feeling pain. But on a daily basis, when we're walking the streets, you feel the spirit of the Jewish nation, and that gives me hope. When you see kids smiling in the parks, and life continuing, as difficult as it is during these very difficult times, even now, when we're waiting for the next attack, spirits are high, and I think that's definitely something special. And obviously, in the work that I do, I work 24/7 with people that want to give to soldiers, and that hasn't stopped. It's only grown. I think that's a great message to the Jewish people and to the world, that we'll keep getting up, and you can try to hit us, we'll hit back harder. So I think that's something that's very special about our country.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing that. There's so many different nonprofit organizations, and many are doing great work, but sadly some are not good stewards of capital, or not efficient. It's hard for a lot of, I get this question a lot from diaspora Jews, is how do I know which organizations to donate to that are using the money effectively? Do you have any tips for how people can differentiate, or how to, if they're looking for ways to help, not even only, you know, monetary help, but what are just some ways that people can help support soldiers, support Israel right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, first off, and I'll get to the second part of the question, but I can only speak about Yashar LaChayal in the sense that how we can be very trustworthy is that we have a very generous donor in the States who covers all of our overhead, which means that every single dollar that's donated to Yashar LaChayal goes directly to the soldier. So if I have any flights that when I fly to the States for fundraising or salaries, everything's covered by this donor, and it goes directly to the soldier. And we're out there in the field really making sure that these soldiers are getting what they need. And so I think that's the most important thing. You have to find organizations where there's really people on the ground meeting with the soldiers, and are able to really attest for the soldiers, really represent the soldiers, and explain what they need most. And I think a lot of people don't like to hear this, but when it comes down to it, the monetary support is really sometimes the greatest support, because if you try to send gear or different things on boats or on planes, by the time it gets here, sometimes it's either it doesn't get directly to the soldier, or it's no longer relevant. By providing monetary aid, at least if it goes to the right organization, they can represent those receiving it in the proper way, and make sure that the gear or the support that they're getting is purchased efficiently and provided to them as soon as possible, which is what we do, what we pride ourselves about.
Awesome. Yeah, well, please provide me with a link so I can put it in the comments, so that people can donate to the organization. I'll also make a donation on behalf of our paid subscribers as well. You
Great,
know,
thanks
this
a lot.
organization has helped me directly in the past, and you guys do such incredible work. Is there anything that you'd like to add or talk about that we didn't cover, that you'd like to bring up?
Again, like I think I mentioned before a little bit, but just to kind of close with that point is that these soldiers are sacrificing so much for not just the people of Israel, but for people around the world. And I think the least we can do is really give them that support. And we can't expect everyone to join the IDF all of a sudden and leave their lives where they are, whether in the States or around the world. But it is important to keep them in their prayers and to always be thinking about them because they're sacrificing the most important thing, which is their lives, more than anyone else can sacrifice. And I think we just have to show them the that most support.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this and coming to speak to everyone. I hope everyone in Maccabee Nation has a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming on, Moshe.
Thanks a lot, Jason. We'll be in touch. I'll send you the link as well.
Perfect.